Let's be honest, there is no magic pill that will make your fat melt away. Losing weight is an accumulation of healthy choices. Now, having said this, one healthy choice that could actually add something to your diet instead of taking things away, and that could potentially support your weight loss, could be fermented food. Okay, to kick off this video, I want to show you some studies where fermented food or probiotics were used to support the weight loss of study subjects. And then at the end of the video, I want to discuss the potential mechanism behind it, meaning why fermented food actually supports your weight loss, what's going on in your body. Before we start, my name is Patrick. I'm a PhD student, and in my free time, when I'm not doing any experiments in the lab, I read a lot about health science and how we can improve our life with nutritious choices and lifestyle. And two topics that really pique my interest are the microbiome and inflammation, because I think these are the biggest contributors to our health. So if you like this video, I would really appreciate if you give it a thumb up, because this tells the YouTube algorithm to distribute it to more people. Okay, without further ado, let's look at the first study that showed how powerful fermented food can be in supporting our weight loss. In this study, overweight participants were divided into two groups. One group received fresh, unfermented kimchi, while the other group received kimchi that was fermented for 10 days. Here's the recipe for the kimchi. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot it. The participants consumed the fermented or non-fermented kimchi for 4 weeks and then switched the diets after a 2 weeks washout period. This is called a crossover study, in which each participant serves as his own control. Now, what the researchers found was that the body fat percentage was significantly reduced in the people that consumed the fermented kimchi compared to the ones that consumed fresh kimchi. During the time when the fermented kimchi was consumed, the researchers also observed improvements in fasting glucose and blood pressure. Now the researchers conclude their paper by saying that these results suggest that the maturity of kimchi, fresh versus fermented, may affect obesity, lipid metabolism, and inflammatory processes. I really like the setup of this study. Not only serves each participant as his own control, but the control is also perfect with the fresh kimchi versus the fermented kimchi. Now, kimchi or fermented vegetables aren't really for everyone and are honestly quite some work. However, another study also showed that it can be much easier. So for this study, the volunteers were given 80 milliliters of fermented milk, or were not given anything. In this study, they used a probiotic bacterium, Bifidobacterium lactis, to do the job of fermentation. And after 45 days, the probiotic group did not only show a significant reduction in weight loss, but also a reduction in markers of inflammation. This study only used one specific probiotic bacterium, as this is the nature of scientific research to figure out what bacterium or what molecule is actually doing the job. And I can imagine that the study outcome would have been even more beneficial if they would have used a combination of different probiotic strains, as it is usually the case when you do home fermentation. Like for instance with my homemade kefir here. Kefir has, as we know, up to 60 different strains of microbes, bacteria and yeast. Just to show you that I didn't cherry pick the studies I presented here today, we can also look at a meta-analysis published in 2019 that looked at 32 trials that asked the question whether probiotics can support weight loss. And the meta-analysis concludes that the intake of probiotics resulted in a minor but consistent improvements in several metabolic risk factors in subjects with metabolic disease. So they say that they see a consistent, even though small, improvement when probiotics are added to a diet. And as I said in the beginning, the addition of fermented food or probiotics aren't gonna cause major weight changes, but are rather a little added extra that can definitely support your weight loss. Now let's talk about why it works. So what is the actual mechanism behind it? Okay, one of the mechanisms on how fermented foods support your weight loss is by changes in the microbiome. So even though most probiotic bacteria that you consume don't really permanently stay inside your gut, they still lead to changes in your gut microbiome that are, generally speaking, beneficial. Then the next point is that There are countless studies that show that fermented food or probiotics actually reduce inflammation. This is such an important topic, not only for your overall health, but definitely also for weight loss. As we by now know that fat tissue releases a lot of pro-inflammatory molecules, and these in turn then lead to further fat gain. So reducing inflammation is a big one when it comes to weight loss. Then the next thing that fermented food has been shown to do is that it regulates the release of hormones. There has been actually a couple studies that showed that when fermented food or probiotics were consumed, hormones that generally stimulate satiety are released, and therefore people are less likely to overeat. Then the last one is that fermented foods are also full of vitamins. So they are packed with B vitamins, but also vitamin K2. And all of these vitamins have absolutely crucial functions in your body. They are called essential for a reason, so we need to consume them. Okay, these are just some examples on how fermented food can support your weight loss. Again, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you give it a thumb up. Here's another video that talks about how fermented food can reduce inflammation if inflammation is something that interests you. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next time.